Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon, and today we're going to be starting off our mid lane solo queue to sovereign series that we're going to be doing, again, where you guys can follow along with my champion pool, with my everything basically that I'm doing to try to help you guys climb and follow along with me while I'm also climbing. I'm trying to make it a lot more authentic in the sense that I'm going to show you guys more losses. I'm going to show you guys the actual process in terms of how I actually go about improving. I'm going to show you guys champ select, build choice, talk about my rune choice, my items choice, everything, for each game, so you guys really know exactly how I'm approaching each game depending on my different solo queue games. And I'm going to try to make the losses and wins representative of what actually happens, which means that, say that I have a 57% win rate, my goal is that roughly, a little less than half of my videos that I make on this will be losses, and then a little bit more than half will be wins, if that's my win rate, right? So for example, we went 4 and 6 on our first day. We lost a lot more than we won. A lot of those games we played really, really well, but I'm going to show you guys the game that I think I played by far the worst and definitely made a lot of mistakes on, but also have a good early game in. So before we go into that, I just want to talk about draft. The reason that I lock in Corki here of my 4 champions, which is Corki, Orianna, Echo, and Kassadin, is because I have an AP jungle. Warwick does a majority of AP even when building AD, and so I know that I can get that damage in from Corki, who is extremely strong whenever I have an AP jungle. So I lock him in because of that. I also see Riven, and I don't mind playing into Riven at all. And Seraphina is just really whatever. And then when it comes to summoner spells, I noticed that even though they have a lot of CC this game, they also have a lot of burst damage, such as Lucian, Fizz, and Riven. So I go for Exhaust instead of Cleanse. So that's the main thing when it comes to champion select. Chose Corki because of an AP jungle, and then went for Exhaust because of our lane matchup and because they have a lot of burst damage, even if they do have some CC. So Cleanse definitely was an option here. I was kind of debating between both, but I ended up going with Exhaust. So again, lane phase goes well, and then later on in the game we make a lot of mistakes, which we're going to talk about. So that's going to be the 2 main focuses. Starting off with the lane phase, into Assassins as Corki. So the main way that you want to approach these types of lanes is pretty aggressively, trying to squeeze in a lot of auto attacks, and if they try to use their mobility to get onto you level 1, you can continue to trade back on them after. So you're going to see here, for example, Fizz uses his third ability right away onto me. And because he does that, I know that I can auto attack and trade with him really hard afterwards. Instead of running away, you see how I keep trying to get these auto trades, and I end up doing really, really well in the auto trades, and he ignited me. So he has no ignite, which means I'm not scared anymore of him doing anything to me, and we're both low health even though I have my spell. And so right now I'm already thinking, and I say this on my stream, I'm going to flash his third ability. If I flash his third ability, I know that I can pretty much guaranteed kill him or minimum get his flash out, and I have Exhaust to likely run him down. And I'm going to take my second ability because of the fact that I want to run him down, and so you're going to see this. I'm playing for level 2. I'm trying to make sure I get level 2 because, again, I anticipate the all-in from his third ability as soon as it comes up, and he's looking for the level 2 here. And because of that, I have to make sure I'm getting level 2 as well to match that. And then because I do that, you're going to watch he does exactly what I said. I flash just like I told you guys I was planning. I exhaust him, and because he has no ignite, we end up getting the kill. Getting the first blood, or the first kill. I guess our teammate already got first blooded, but we got the kill in lane, and then we end up overstaying here. And so I'm gonna as well talk about why it is okay to overstay in this situation, even though I end up getting caught. First reason is we're 50 seconds into the game. If the jungle decides to gank me, it's extremely early, and he screws up his pathing, so he's not going to be super efficient, so I'm not super worried about a gank. It's not super likely. The other reason is I'm really close to my boots, and I want to get that power spike as I come back to lane to snowball further. So I prioritize this wave, which is going to give me that nice amount of gold to potentially get my boots. And now in this case, we end up getting ganked. But I don't mind, in this case, getting ganked in that situation. And we end up, instead of going for boots, we end up going for a component of Essence Reaver instead, because that's going to help with my damage in lane more than some boots are going to help. And since I don't have my full boots to buy, I end up going for that instead, since we get caught. So that's the main thing that we're approaching it so far. Again, more worried about the gold getting our own advantage, playing around when the enemy uses their mobility on us like that Fizz. We run them down afterwards and take advantage of our early range. So again, here he does the same thing, and again, notice how I'm trading back on him. I'm not actually scared. After he uses all of his mobility, he has no damage to kill me, and we get a really advantageous trade once again, so we can continue to potentially pressure him. Plus our jungle's coming here. Now, because it's a Fizz, we're going to make sure to grab that heal because we could possibly die. So we're not going to, put ourselves in a position where we could die, but then we're just going to continue to poke him whenever he walks up for last hits. And if he ever goes in for an all-in or uses his mobility in a silly way, again, we're just going to trade with him. So again, you just see how we're using our range advantage to really hard trade with him, get that advantage, and then just continue to have a pretty free lane. We see that he's recalling, and so we decide to stop his recall as well, so that he's really just going to be pretty screwed over there. And we're going to freeze on him because we have the lane in a good spot to the point that we can deny him a lot of minions, and he's again taking a long time to recall. So here we've built up a very big gold lead in lane, which is something you can do very often as Corki, and that's exactly why I like picking Corki if I have an AP jungle, because he's a very good laner and he still scales really well. So he's a really solid champion in those situations. And because there's a big wave here, we didn't initially really want to trade, but then he third abilities into us, so I know that I can just kill him for free, basically. And so we do exactly that. We just kill him because, again, he's just blowing his mobility despite being down a level, down on items, just weaker overall. And so we're just able to trade back on him. So you can see how we're consistently getting this advantage in lane by not being worried about, you know, trading back, basically, when the enemy does decide to blow their mobility, whereas a lot of people may run away there. And again, overstaying for my boots to make sure that I am getting those boots, which I'm perfectly fine with. Even if I end up dying here, it's not the end of the world. And that's the type of thing that's sometimes important, is making sure you get your wave pushed out. We get that decent advantage, we push the lane, and then now we're very, very strong when it comes to items. And so then you're going to soon see a shift in about a minute or two in terms of how the game is going. So again, the team's not doing super well, but we're in a decent spot. I will also point out I was pretty tilted at this point, which is just something to keep in mind to help you guys understand possibly why I'm making a lot of these mistakes, which is something I want to identify when my mistakes are kind of tilt related, so that I'm aware of, you know, these potential issues coming up in further games. But we'd lost like 3 or 4 games in a row, I think, at this point, or at least lost a lot recently, and had like really good games and got kind of tilted from that. But that's besides the point. That's just an important thing, is like you can see how you're going to see mental definitely plays a factor in this game. But when it comes to the rotation, Fizz rotated for no reason when I had the wave pushing, so I just stay on the turret. Corki pushes turrets really fast, so anytime the enemy rotates, if you have a wave in a decent spot, just push the wave and play for plates. Because notice how I literally got the turret to 600 health already. Like, it's already extremely low. And then as soon as he comes back, we pressure him, and we're up a level and a half on him at this point. So we just continue to focus on pressuring the turret, and overall the game is going extremely well. So early game for me with Corki is extremely good. I'm able to get advantages nearly every game on Corki, pressure turrets, get a lot of first turrets, and win lane. And then the issue for me is definitely a lot later in the game. So again, we get a nice little kill on them here. Again, I'm making sure to get my Essence Reaver. I know those item spikes are important, even if I get caught. And I get really stupidly greedy here. I could have just walked away, but unnecessarily greedy on my recall, and so I die. Very dumb mistake by me, but I'm not overly concerned with that type of mistake for improvement, because it's just a mistake. Like, it's just like a silly thing. What you're going to see later is going to be where we're going to see some major mistakes relating to more like decision-making factors. And so we're just going to skip through here to back when we respawn. So we're focusing on making sure we get mid lane priority first. Again, having the control over the mid lane before we rotate is important. And then now that we've pushed it, we can then rotate to help out in a fight. Fizz does rotate first, and so at this point we kind of realize we can't do a whole lot, but we're just kind of trying to get poke, and we just focus on the turret because our teammate did die pretty quickly there. And so when that happens, again, we just focus the turret rather than forcing a dumb fight. This is all good so far. So a lot of the early game, again, you can see went really well for me, and I'm very strong. I made a lot of good choices to not follow up on silly fights, to make sure I'm pressuring the turret, take advantage of those types of things. But then here, I get a bit greedy in terms of just trying to fight when my teammates aren't really in a good position. And you're going to see this be very common. We're going to end the game with a lot of deaths, and a lot of stupid deaths like this. 2 of my teammates are dead. I have no vision of anyone apart from Ornn and Fizz. My Thresh is nowhere nearby. My Camille's half health. And then I end up deciding to take the fight when Riven shows up. When Riven shows up, I should just immediately second ability away and leave. There's no reason for me to fight. Now, the reason I wanted to fight him here is because I could kill him if I'm 1v1. Like, if I'm 1v1, I'm up a level, I have exhaust, I can kill him. But obviously, it's not a 1v1 because, again, 2 teammates dead, 1 just respawned now. My teammates are in a horrible position, and yet I still go forward. And you're going to see this be a common mistake. And I think definitely when I'm tilted, this is something I'm just not paying enough attention to, is my teammate's location. I'm just starting to get tilted, blame team, get frustrated at the game. And like in this point in the game, I was frustrated. I was mad at my team for not being in a proper position to follow, but there was no way they really could have followed, right? Like it wouldn't make sense because they just weren't in a position to follow. And so at this point, the game starts to get broken open. However, we're still fine in gold. Like, we're still even gold. It's not the end of the world. What we need to realize that we need to do now is just focus on getting gold. I notice a lot of times when I play Corki, I end up focusing on fights because I do really well early game, and then I get like, I want to fight and fight and fight because I'm strong. But a lot of times I'm still really squishy and I haven't hit my super big power spikes yet, and then I end up kind of screwing myself over. I don't really have a problem with me prioritizing this wave because that's more me focusing on gold and making sure I just get as much gold in myself as possible because I'd already pushed the mid wave out. And so then I decide to rotate back towards Mid lane, after getting the top wave, fine with all of these types of decisions so far. And then we see then we should just go the long way at this point because we see Fizz rather than kind of walking in. Here's a little bit greedy, but it's not the end of the world. Overall right now, probably could just push mid and then go towards the bottom lane because we want to play with our teammate. And so this is kind of where the next mistake sort of comes in. I don't really hate if I go for this top lane wave, but I don't want to ever take a fight once I see this guy. So you're going to see here, I'm going to start fighting him. And again, the reason it makes no sense to fight, we know Fizz is somewhat nearby. We don't know where Riven is. Our two teammates are making a play on the other side of the map, and Kalista is not super, super close. And yet we still try to fight. So this is the second time where I get greedy on a fight, and this time it's an Orin who's, again, very hard to kill. He's going to take quite a long time to kill. Then Riven shows up, and then I flash over the wall, and I wasn't paying enough attention. Fizz was there. We saw him on the map, and yet I still walk back into the Fizz really stupidly, and then I die. And so, again, awareness overall is the big issue here for me in this game, which is just obviously very, very dumb of me. But overall, again, the main things that I'm focusing on when it comes to these things is paying attention to teammates' location after the early game goes well. Because when the early game goes well, you don't need to overforce a bunch of fights. You don't need to take every fight you see. You can fight on your own terms because you're really strong and you have a big advantage. So you get to kind of dictate the pace of the game. But in this case, every time I saw an enemy, I essentially decided to fight them because I was strong and I was overestimating myself, even when my teammates weren't nearby. And so that's really the main issue with this game, and you're going to see it kind of continue throughout the game. And again, when it comes to this series, a lot of my kind of things that I'm going to show you guys are not going to be me going through the entire game in full. We're usually going to have specific focuses with each replay. And so again, early game, I want you guys to understand the things we spoke about in the early game that we kind of mentioned, right, with the laning into assassins that you saw. Those were all pretty good things. And then here, just a lack of awareness. And so in this situation, for example, we see Fizz on the map rotating right now towards us, and yet I still decide to fight even longer here and chase further and further. The reasoning in my mind is because of my jungle, right? That's why I wanted to fight. But we saw Fizz, and we know I'm really squishy. I can't really kill them, and yet I still overstay once again. So again, a dumb overstay leads to multiple people getting caught, and at this point, I'm blaming my team, despite this being my fault, largely, right, with a lot of the positioning errors in the places we are on the map. And the reason I'm showing you guys this as well is so you guys see the initial mistakes in early season, and why early season, all that really matters is focusing on your improvement. And so even again here, I see my team going up on top side fighting. I saw Riven here, and then I instantly go on to their Seraphine, despite my team not being in a position to follow once again. And so then I die again, and I die before an objective. So it's really hard for me then to get back on the objective. Just very stupid, very over-aggressive. Once again, not paying attention to teammate location. And that's pretty much the gist of this game, right, where we're going to continue to see those similar mistakes. Again, just skipping through so we don't waste your guys' time, just showing you guys those main two things. So those are definitely two things to focus on if you guys in terms of the lane phase, and then paying attention to teammates location if those are potential issues that you guys have in your gameplay as well. And just also tilt, right, because a lot of this is related to mental, where then I'm getting mad at team because the game doesn't go well, because certainly there's, obviously things your team could do better as well, and then I'm just focused on that, which makes me have a lack of focus. And that's a large reason why I'm so not paying attention to my map and not noticing these obvious things on my map, is because I'm too worried about teammates, doing dumb things. And even here, I just walk up for no reason and die in something I should never die in, right? Like, it makes no sense. And so you just see this common thing. And so this is really an issue I'm finding specifically with Corki, because he's a lot better early game. Whereas when I'm playing Orianna, or I'm playing Echo, or I'm playing Kassadin, I'm naturally a bit more passive in the early game, waiting for my power spikes. But because Corki's so strong, I'm really just overforcing every fight after getting a lead. And so that's like the main kind of issue I'm going to try to improve on when I stream today, because I record these videos a day before they get released. So I'll be streaming today, and then my stream will already be out by the time that this video comes out. And on that stream, we'll try to be focusing more on, when we're playing Corki, on kind of just the more fundamental decisions, those types of things. Because again, there's really no issue with going negative early on in the season. If you guys started your first day off in the season as well, and you lost more games than you won, or you got tilted, or maybe your teammates were really bad, because again, this is definitely my worst game. I had some other games that we lost where teammates, frankly, just were very, very bad. And not much we could have done in those games. And so when those things happen, again, just focus on finding these types of things to improve on, because early season doesn't really matter if you win or lose. The goal is to get your peak rank 3 months from now, not to get your peak rank a week from now. Like, that'd be insane if you somehow got to your peak rank in a week of the season. And so that's really just kind of the gist of this video. That's why I want you guys to understand. Again, we'll be continuing to focus on champ select, so you guys know how I'm drafting. I'll soon make a video on my excuse me, I'll make a video on my autofill picks as well, so you guys can also practice the autofill picks if you want to know that. Probably make that video in the next couple days on how those champions work, and then as we get autofilled, like I got autofilled on a Warwick game today, I think I might show that Warwick game later on as well for jungle. You can also watch my rank 1 Warwick video if you want to know about that. Warwick is a jungle top laner that I'm playing a lot, so whenever I'm autofill. And really just kind of have those overall focuses on these different types of things throughout the series. Let me know if you guys want anything different with the series too. This game is pretty much ending, so I'm just kind of talking over, you know, as the game ends. But if you guys have anything else you kind of want me to focus on with the series, or any different types of gameplays, or if you want, you know, the structure of the videos to be different, or if you like this structure, kind of let me know what you think about that. Going through the thought process, if you want me to go more in depth, even when the game's basically over, or if when the game's over, that's when you want me to start talking about like these sort of mindset things, or like how to approach, you know, different parts of the season. But again, so far we're, I think, diamond 4-3 marks right now. Like I said, 4 and 6 to start. We'll be playing pretty much every day for a month straight. Apart from a couple days I'll be working, but overall pretty much every single day we'll be streaming for a month straight. Then I'll be going to Europe for 3 weeks and I won't stream, but I will have YouTube videos out. And then once I come back from Europe, we'll probably be playing for like 8 hours every day, because I'll be on summer break from school at that point. So overall, again, the game just ends here. You know, pretty straightforward how they end it, right? No, nothing really much to look for, but those are the main things to focus on. Again, go back through the early game in the lane phase of the video if you want to look at kind of a positive thing that you can try to emulate in your game when it comes to laning against assassins, champions like Fizz especially, who have that really, you know, that mobility that they go all in and then they don't have many ways to get out. Those types of assassins. Echo's kind of a similar one in a way. That's how you can kind of lane against them, and then again, keeping better track of your teammates, and even when you're tilted, and kind of acknowledge in your mind that you're tilted, and then just focus on the fundamental things of going to the proper waves, not following dumb fights, waiting until you see your teammates before deciding, you know, whether or not to go in, that type of thing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this first video. We'll continue the road to Sovereign solo queue only, and I'll see you guys in the next video.